Story number one. So, this story is not mine. This was told to me by a friend that he does some private investigation or private detective work. He told me that back when we used to work together, he met this girl, Karen. She used to live close to me, but he told me the following. He had social media. I closed my Facebook account back in 2011, so let's call this guy Andre. So Andre told me, don't you realize that girl, Karen? It's a little bit suspicious. And I asked him how. He said that when he finished work, and I didn't notice, that she will get into luxurious cars. The salary that we were making was $800 a month. In my country, that's not a lot of money. So he said, how come she gets into like very luxurious cars and all these men are picking up her? And my answer to Andre was, she is really pretty. Maybe, she has a boyfriend. And Andre was like, this type of guy that it's really nosy. That's why I guess he did his second job, which is private investigation or detective, more prominent. And basically, he said no, because there are different cars. You can tell by the plate numbers, and there are different models. He was really into cars, so he knew. Anyways, he told me, I think she is somehow of a prostitute. And I told him, how do you know? He said, dude, let's talk on our lunch break. So, lunch break comes, I sit next to him. And he starts joking with me because she lived next to me, like if I talk to her a lot. And I tell Andre I don't know what he's talking about, that I rarely know anything about her besides her name, last name, and the fact that she lived like probably 2 miles away from my house. And that's it. I never been into his or to her house or anything like that. So Andre takes out his phone and I see him, very smiley and telling me, I have the evidence here. So he said, look at Karen. And I was like, yeah, she's really good looking. He said, no, no, look at the pictures. Look at the time. She goes to, let's say, the US for an entire week. Dude, the salary we make monthly is literally not enough for you to travel that often to the US. And, my naive answer was, maybe she has a friend there. He said, no. If you notice all the pictures, she's never with anybody. It's like somebody else is taking a picture for her because I don't see any selfie stick or anything like that. I was like, okay. And he was like, and this is not new. I mean, look at, I think that was around 2016. He said, look at 2013, look at 2012. This girl is traveling all the time. And, the base salary for the type of work that we do, which was pretty much customer service, nothing fancy. No offense to somebody that has worked there. I worked there for a couple of years. He said, with our salary, it's impossible to travel that much, and it's impossible to go to all those countries. And I pretty much told him, well, Andre, I'm not sure about that. So basically, he told me he, as a private investigator or detective, that he will start following her. So I was like, okay, dude, if, that's what you're doing on your spare time, go ahead and do it. I mean, if you actually make some money from doing that, don't just waste your resources on one girl. And he said, no, no, it's just that it's really curious because the type of cars that come to pick up her is worth more than houses. It's like cars that are really, really expensive. He told me between the range of $60,000, 100,000, 200,000. I was like, well, dude, I don't know anything about cars, but if you say so, I guess, why would you be lying to me, right? So basically, Andre told me that he was going to start following her that day and then report back to me. At this point, I don't know why Andre is pretty much telling me that he is going to do all of this and tell me. I guess because he noticed that I used to talk to this Karen chick and that he thought that we had something, which we didn't. We just talked because we live very close, and she told me about certain things about the apartments and the prices and stuff like that. And what I was what was the thing that I was studying after work, and she seemed interested to know more about me, but that's it. So Andre, the shift finishes. I didn't have Andre's number or anything like that. The next day he comes and he's, excitedly tells me, I have to speak with you, during lunchtime or after work. And I tell him, yeah, sure, why not? So basically, lunchtime comes and I sit next to him and he tells me, dude, I have evidence. So he brings out his phone, starts showing me all these pictures of her, um, you know, exiting cars with a lot of bags from, we can say expensive stores, where you buy clothes that you wear when you're, let's say, very wealthy. Um, I don't know, well-known brands that that at least a shirt is worth $300-400 or something like that. Jewelry that they say sell very expensive watches and stuff like that. And Andrea tells me there is no way that she can buy that with her own money. The person that is driving there, I rarely can see them, but I know that it's man, and you can tell it's very wealthy by the car and stuff like that. So I ask him, but how do you know she is actually, a prostitute like you said? I mean, what if she really has a rich boyfriend, or she really, goes on dating apps and, you know, because of her looks, men give her stuff, that's really common if you come to think about it. And I said, no, dude, it's really uncommon because I noticed that she doesn't let any man get in her house. She usually hops into a car and leaves. Probably because she lives in an apartment complex and she doesn't want anybody to know what she does as a second job, right? And I was like, well, that's reading too much into it. Maybe she, her boyfriend's or boyfriend, it's buying her stuff and taking her out. And he said, yeah, dude, but sometimes I see her waiting outside her house, looking at her watch like she was waiting for an appointment. And I was like, well, maybe, when you do an appointment with somebody you like, I was trying to debunk all this thing because I don't think it's fair to accuse somebody that we don't know, right? And he said, no, dude, it's just that it's like she's on like a dentist or a doctor appointment. Look at her watch, like that person is late. And you can see her like with an upset face texting the guy, like, are you coming or not, or something like that. And I was like, well, we don't have their text messages. We cannot assume. So Andrew said, I'm going to go one step further. And he pretty much started like investigating her friends. He said, okay, look at this guy. He always liked the picture. He's probably a client of hers. So basically, he went as far as creating a Facebook account with a lot of fake people at it. I guess this took him a couple of weeks, and he added that guy I guess, in a way for him to add him back. I don't know if it was a picture of him or of a girl. I don't know. It was a fake profile. But he added the guy that he said that he saw and that he was liking all the pictures of Karen. So basically, Andre created that picture, that profile with the fake picture, and he pretty much said, "I'm gonna DM her, asking her like, hey, pretty lady, I'm a whatever, and I have a bunch of money. Like, I think you're really cute." And I was like, I don't think that will work. But anyways, Andre said that it took a while to get a response from her because maybe she doesn't like talking to strangers online. And I was like, well, if he has her privacy settings well set, I don't think she's gonna talk to you. But anyways, Andres showed me a conversation where she was pretty much flirting with him. I don't know if it was a real picture of Andrew or like a fake picture of, like, let's say, a guy in a business plane or something, something that you know that it's fake, but probably she is used to like successful guys hitting on her, however you want to determine success. So I was like, Andre, did you ask her about, if she does any type of services? And he said, no, dude, I'm about to, right? He said, I just have to build a report. I just have to come off like real guy. I'm putting like, stories so she knows that I'm not an empty profile, blah, blah, blah. So, pretty much, I guess, private detective or investigator practices not to look so obvious. Otherwise, they know it's a bait and they just avoid you. At that time, once she was sitting next to me, Karen was sitting next to me, and she said, oh, it's really cold. And I was like, do you want my jacket? I'm not even using it. So, she took my jacket for the entirety of the shift, gave it back. And, I was pretty much looking at some stuff on my computer. And she said, "Oh, that looks really interesting, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's about networking, about how, firewall, routers, everything, switches work. And, I'm trying to get a promotion on this other place because, I'll make 2 times what I make here. And, it's to support my family because blah, blah, blah. And that's really important to me. And that's what keeps me forward." She gave me a smile, which I think is very sincere. And she asked me something very particular. She said, "Do you think you can teach that to me?" I was like, "Yeah, anybody can learn this. I mean, I can teach you basics. I don't have any problems with that. Let's set aside a week, a weekend, and you can come to my house or I can go to yours and I can take my notebooks and everything. We can review together and I can explain you because the best way to learn something is explain to somebody else. That's how you retain most of the information, right?" So she gave me her number and we started talking. I didn't tell Andre about this. He was like pretty much trying to get in touch with some other contacts of her or the actual guy that he said that he saw exiting her house or picking her up and stuff like that. And at some point, in Latin America, we use a lot WhatsApp, the app before, Zuckerberg purchased it back in the day. And we used to chat a lot and joke a lot. And I was like, "Yeah, this is a normal chick, I don't sense any weird vibes. I'm not sensing um, her offering me anything." So I didn't tell Andrea about that. And, we were joking. I showed her a bunch of stuff that I was studying. And after 2 weeks, I asked Karen, "Hey, you want to come to my house or I go there so we can study?" The conversation after that turned really weird. She told me, "No, no, I will let you know. It's just that my house is a mess. I really don't let anybody in because it's such a mess that I'm kind of shameful to show you what's inside and things like that." I was like, "It's okay, we can find a spot like maybe on the kitchen or living room or your room, whatever. It's just, maybe review this stuff for 1 hour once a week or twice a week, however much ever time you want. I'm really not doing anything else besides studying." I wasn't gaming back in the day, so I was just studying, I guess, watching TV. But I don't remember that part of 2016 was really blurry because I wasn't at my best. So I guess my brain erases parts of it. Anyways, I told Karen, if not, you can come to my house. My house. I have a table here. We can remove the kitchen stuff and pretty much study. And she said, "No, no, no, no. I'll find time. I'll find time." You know, I'm the type of guy that if we start talking, I'll try to check on you every now and then, just not to like keep an eye on you, but just to like know how you're doing, because when there is distance, maybe you're struggling, you want to talk with somebody. I don't know. That's just the type of person that I am. And anyways, she started acting weird, and when I will say hi to her, where she will just pass straight through me, right? And yeah, basically, I told her, "Well, if you don't want me to, go to your house, that's fine." But she was like, "No, no, no, I will let you know." Little do you know, Andrew was more into it. He said, "Oh, dude, I think she just offered me to go to her house and pay her for sex." And I was like, "How do you know?" And he showed me like a Facebook message that said, "If you want to come to my house, then we can get it to know each other better." I was like, "Well, dude, you cannot do that, right? Because A, that's not you on the profile picture, and B, I doubt that because he had a girlfriend that you're gonna do that, right? And just say busted. Because even if you bust her, what are you gonna do? Like take her to the authorities? It just doesn't make sense, and you don't gain anything out of it. Like busting her or saying I know what you do is not gonna make you or her a better person." Anyways, after all of this, Karen quits. She erases her phone number or blocks me from WhatsApp. And after that, Andrea said, "Yeah, she probably left the country or something like that." And I was like, "I don't think so." So Andrea said that he, after work, stood up, or well, he was pretty much like parking near her house and checking if there was somebody there. He said, "No, she's gone." And I was like, what do you mean she's gone?" And he said, "There's nobody living there. I passed by and you can see the windows doesn't even have curtains. There's nothing." And I was like, maybe she got a job offering out of country or out of state. I don't know. I said, well, it's really weird, dude, because, you know, he said, what are the chances that a millionaire or billionaire, I don't think we have billionaires in my country, maybe millionaires, but he said, what are the chances that a millionaire took her to live with her and she's living a happy life? He said, what are the chances that those people with so much money, with those expensive cars were narcos, drug dealers? Maybe, she knew too much by the person she was hanging with and they just disappeared her. And I was like, well, she didn't mention to me parents or cousins or aunts or uncles that were looking after her. And Andrew said, yeah, that's the thing. She's the perfect victim for, human trafficking or just for disappearing. The fact that she disappears, the fact that managers know nothing where she go or why she quit or anything, that she just sent the letter and didn't even came in person to deliver it. So don't you think it's weird? Her phone records disappear, everything, her Facebook disappear. Like she just goes move and erases all the social life. Anyways, nothing really much came out of it. To this day, I don't know where she is. I think I saw her during the COVID era, like 2020, 2021, when I was getting my boosters. But I couldn't tell if it was her. I mean, I wanted to tell, Karen, is that really you? But I wasn't even sure. It's like when you see somebody that you think is a person that you met, but it's not really that. Anyways, long story short, it has been now what, 8 years, and we don't know anything about her. There's no record of her on Instagram, Facebook, or even LinkedIn, anywhere. She's like the earth swallowed her. But a lot of things that Andrew said make sense. Those cars were really expensive. Like think about your most expensive car brand. Obviously, not the ones worth millions of dollars, but the ones that are worth, house prices like 100,000, 200,000. In order for you to spend that money on a car, you'll have to make millions of dollars, maybe a month for you to keep up that lifestyle, right? Or even a year, which is a lot of money in my country. So that just goes to show that even though this case went to nowhere, maybe she was sold to human trafficking, or maybe she knew too much, or maybe Andrew was right that she was a prostitute, but she came to her demise when she was hanging to wrong people. Because if she doesn't even have a family and she just leaves her current house that she was renting, nobody will care for her or look after her. The only person that remembers her to this day is probably me, because the people that I used to work with, I don't talk to anymore because, I switched jobs and I only talk to one person. And rarely anybody can remember her. So it makes me wonder, was Andre right? Was she trying to escape her lifestyle? That's why she wanted to study with me. And probably she came to a realization that she was in too deep and she didn't want to get me into that. That's why she didn't want to come to my house or be spotted with me or me going to her house. Or it was just a misunderstanding that going to her house means something sexual. At this point, I will never know. Because, like I said, she completely disappeared. She has a very common name and a common last name. But it makes me wonder, is she on some type of morgue as an unidentified body? Is she living in our country? Did she move to another city and start a new life? Or basically she was a victim of something that is great, bigger than anything that we can imagine? Story number 2. So basically this is I will say a private detective tale, but the thing is that this happened right next to my house. And the way that I'm gonna puzzle everything together, you be the judge if you think that this is true or not. So basically, next to my house, you know, it was very big. It was a very big house, but the thing about this house it was that it was pretty, um, let's say, so big that you expect a family to be in it. So I noticed one afternoon, like in a Saturday, that a woman lives, just I guess goes there and she dresses like very, I don't know how to put it, but like she shows more of her body than I guess a normal person. I don't know how to put it, like provocative. So my mom said, "Oh, look at how she's dressing, right? I mean, no offense, but I mean she's almost naked." And I was like, yeah, maybe it's the weather, it's kind of hot. And she was like, yeah, but you really don't dress like that unless you want some unwanted attention. She said, women know when we want to be looked at, and we use those tricks pretending that we don't know. I was like, okay. Anyway, she moved there, and my mom was like, she's gonna leave her there by herself. And I was like, it looks like I don't see any kids or a husband. So a lot of cars started popping up next to her in the front of her house. And my mom swears she saw like a senator exiting that car and entering there. And I was like, are you sure? It says, yeah, yeah, that senator that was, involved in all this corruption from money from X, Y, and Z country. And I was like, probably he looks similar. She said, no, 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 that was him. I mean, why else with two other cars that look security guards will be, waiting for him? It's like, a very important person because he's a senator, you know? And I told my mom, maybe you confuse him with some other guy, right? And she was like, no, I know who I saw. This guy's famous all over the news because of the corruption and he is in. Anyways, long story short, this was back in probably 2015, 2014. And, I met a chick, a little bit chubby, but, she takes interest in me. Her face was very pretty. She tells me her name is Rose. And she tells me that she knows where I live. And I was like, how do you know where I live? And she was like, because my aunt lives next to you. I was like, your aunt? And she was like, yeah, my aunt, she lives next to you. So that's why I have seen you exited in the apartment. So I was like, oh, okay. Anyways, long story short, she tells me, oh, do you know that my aunt, it's into some dark stuff? I think she might be a hooker or this type of have you ever heard of this witches? People that say that, oh, I can make spells on people and make them go ill or make your fortune go well. I was like, yeah. She said, yeah, she's kind of like both. I'm not even sure because when I went to her house, she never lets me stay that long because she tells me that she has visits, but she never lets me see the visits. Anyways, long story short, we noticed that a lot of cars were parking in front of her house and then leaving shortly. But the weird thing comes here because Rose, I invite her once to eat, really nice girl, and she told me I want to stay at my aunt's because it's closer to work. But I live by myself, X, Y, and Z. And I was like, oh, okay, really? And she said, yeah, really. I'm really lonely living by myself. I want to live with my aunt just to, lower costs and be with somebody because I don't like being alone. And well, basically, Rose was kicked out of her apartment. She pretty much was in the street with her stuff, and she went to live with her aunt. And her aunt just ended up kicking her out. At some point, I even offered her my house to like stay for a couple of days until she looked for a place. But Rose ended up like quitting the current job, and I guess she got a better job. I'm not sure. But she told me, mark my words, my aunt is gonna get kicked from that house. And I was like, why? And she said, well, because for some reason she said she stopped paying the landlord the amount that she was supposed to pay. And I was like, why? And she said, I don't know. It's just like the landlord stopped billing her. I was like, you think it's because of fear of because she has like supposed powers to cast curses or something like that? Because I knew the landlord. The landlord was the owner of the apartments that I live and the house where I live. And she was the type of woman that will call you if you were one day late. She will be like, it's the second of the month. The due date was on the first, blah blah blah. Even when there were holidays, she will call you. So I was like, but she's gonna get kicked because she doesn't pay, or she's gonna get kicked for what? Because the laws in my country says that you can even stay 3 months in one place without paying. If you have kids or somebody that it's ill or something. So it's very hard for you to kick somebody out of a home here. Like the laws, I guess, work in a sense, but if you're a homeowner, maybe it's not so good for you. So homeowners, they're kind of afraid renting their stuff because sometimes people can stay there for years without paying and they cannot do anything or go to court. Because here for money, you take people to court, but rarely ends up with you with your money back. So anyway, she said, yeah, I think my aunt is on something really weird because she I've seen that she's talking to like very important people, but she won't tell me who. But anyways, we noticed that in the middle of the night one day, like a year or 2 years later, uh, this aunt from Rose just, you know, disappeared. We just see a moving truck in the middle of the night, taking all her stuff, and she's gone. And we met the landlord when she was there because we used to say hi to her, even though we really didn't like her as a person. We were polite and say hi to her. So the thing that struck the landlord weird is like he said, "Wow, it's the first time that when I reclaimed the house and like paint it and clean it, that it looks like somebody really, really made an effort to clean everything. Like she cleaned everything before leaving. No, tenant does that. Everybody that rents stuff, when they finish their contract, they just leave or they just leave without paying, but nobody cleans." She said, "I think she was doing something here either illegally or something strange because everything looks so clean that I don't have to do anything else. The floors, are even shiny. The bathroom is completely clean. It's like if nobody ever lived here." So I always remember Rose's words that she said she might be into like witchcraft or might be a prostitute. I was like, maybe she didn't want to be associated with anything if there was a sinner involved that might get her to, for some reason into troubles if they find out something that she was doing. And that's pretty much the story. Rose, we stopped talking because I think at some point she wanted me to be more than friends with her, but I told her that I wasn't ready because I was really looking for a job promotion. And then I was gonna think if I wanted to have a relationship with somebody. So I think she took that to the, "Oh, you just don't like me." I did like her at some point, but I guess more like a vain way. Like I didn't know anything about her, besides her name and the music she liked. But I never made an effort to really like her. So yeah. Anyways, that is pretty much the two stories that I have. And yeah, but the second one is more like a personal experience. And all the evidence points that she was in some type of witchcraft or prostitute or both. And the fact that she left the house more clean than she did when she arrived just makes me think that something illegal happened there and she just wanted to get rid of the evidence. We really don't think it was a murder scene or something like that because the police will be there. But maybe it was something that she didn't want anybody to see. Did witchcraft, which is, evidence of something sex related that will give out what she was doing, we'll never know. But at least the detective work that Rose did with her aunt that she didn't know so well, it ended up leading to more questions than answers. Anyways, that's it. Thank you for listening.